Hello dear students, welcome you all. In this video lecture, we're going to study microbial spoilage of canned foods. So canning is one of the important method of packing food for long-term storage. Normally, food is stored in metallic containers along with heat treatment, and heat treatment varies depending upon the type of food. So, canning is basically related to the packed foods. So nowadays, and in most of the other countries, the trend is to consume packed food is much more as compared to our country, because in our country we prefer freshly cooked food, but there are some other countries they prefer, and especially in cities they prefer preserved food or food which is packed in containers. There is always a chance that microorganisms may survive if the heat treatment is not proper, thereby leading to spoilage of food. As these foods are packed, before and after packing, they get sterilized for complete removal of or complete eradication of different types of microbes. And these types of food, canned food, they go through various processes as well as treatment for complete removal of or complete eradication of different types and different numbers of microbes. Okay. So usually these incidences of means once these canned foods after processing, still there are chances of survival of some kind of microorganism, and they may spoil that canned food if that treatment used for eradication is not properly operated, or if that canned food is not treated properly by the different method, then there are chances of spoilage of the canned foods is much more. So the spoilage of could be due to biological or chemical reasons, or combination of both. So in case of biological spoilage, it is due to microbial growth, while chemical spoilage is due to hydrogen produced due to reaction of acid in food and iron or can. So the degree swelling can also be increased by high summer temperature and high altitudes, and certain other factors such as overfilling, bucking, then denting or closing that can, while cool, may also be responsible for spoilage of food in cans. So what are the causes of spoilage in cans? So first is chemical spoilage. So as far as chemical spoilage is concerned, this chemical spoilage is most cases is due to production of hydrogen gas produced in can because of action of acid of food or iron or can. So basically the chemical spoilage is in most cases is due to what? Production of hydrogen gas, and this is produced in can because of action of acid of food or iron of can. So when food react with the material of can, then it produces hydrogen gas as well as other compound, and this leads to formation of chemical spoilage, or it leads to alter the property of food, and the spoilage is termed as hydrogen swell, and it occurs due to following factors such as increase in storage temperature. As we know that a gas expands as the surrounding temperature get increases, so here also the gas present in container, it get expand due to increase storage temperature. Then increase acidity of food. So as acid condition in food it get increase, it definitely it will react with the material of can, and it will produce more hydrogen gas. Then improper exhaust and presence of soluble sulfur as well as phosphorus compounds, and improper timing and lacquering of can at internal surfaces. So all these are chemical factors that leads to chemical spoilage of canned foods. Then in case of biological spoilage, so this cause of biological spoilage is purely because of microbial activity, and in heat treated cans the growth of microorganism can occur due to leakage of can. So if any kind of leak is there, definitely microbes will enter through that leak, and they will proliferate, they will grow at that food environment, and definitely they will cause the poisoning of that food. or spoilage of that food. So it occurs because of manufacturing defects, then punctures or rough handling, and bacteria are introduced into cans either by holes or improper steam. So in this type, the microorganisms are not usually heat resistant, and wide array of organisms had been found to cause spoilage as it is post processing contamination, and microbes may also get entry into can due to cold water use to cool can after heat treatment. So leakage may also be responsible for release of vacuum, which can favor growth of microorganism, and presence of low heat resistance organism usually indicate leakage of can. So usually these cans are very tightly packed, and they are go through different processes of sterilization before and after packing. So but still there are some, due to some manufacturing defects or some mechanical handling or improper handling, leads to formation of leakage, and through that leakage different microbes they enter into that can and they causes spoilage of that food. So under processing it includes suboptimal heat treatment, faulty retort operation, then excessive microbial load and contamination in product, then change in consistency of product. So overall these are under processing means faulty processing of that canned foods, and it leads to spoilage of food. So stages in appearance of can. So a can undergo different transformation from being normal can to completely spoiled can. It depends upon various factors, and all these stages are described on this appearance of can from outside. So these are some appearances from which you can identify the whether the can is spoiled or it is safe. So in case of flat, so this is a normal stage of can where ends of can are slightly concave. At this stage, partial vacuum exists in can and it maintains condition even if dropped on solid surfaces. So this is a good condition as far as the canned food is concerned. So it should appear like flat. Then flipper, so this appears flat, but on dropping it on solid surface, either end of can become convex. On applying pressure on this can, it regains its shape. Again, this is not considered as a danger situation, or it is quite safe. Then springer, so it has both ends bulge. If pushed inside, one end remains concave but other flips out. So this appearance describes slight pressure in cans and usually caused by poor exhaust, or it may be caused due to overfilling or denating or variation in temperature, and usually no gas production occurs. Still this step is again safe. Then in case of soft swell, the ends are bulged due to presence of gas in can, but the ends can be pushed into with light pressure. Then hard swell, so this stage where gas pressure accumulates inside the can and bulge ends cannot be pushed inside manually due to the pressure ends or side steam may be bucklet or distort. A very high pressure may lead to bursting of can due to steam or ends. So breather, so this is a type of can which has minute leak allowing air movement into the can, and it may not allow the entry into the can. So these are various appearances of can and its physical appearance. By judging these type of physical appearances, we can check whether the can is a leak or whether it is safe or whether it gets spoiled. Okay. So as far as the microbial spoilage of canned food is concerned, the microbial spoilage of canned food is classified as caused by thermophilic bacteria and mesophilic organism, and the most common spoilage of microbial origin is known as flat sore spoilage, then thermophilic anaerobic TA spoilage and putrefaction, and these are types briefly described here. So spoilage by thermophilic spore forming bacteria. So spoilage by these type of bacteria is most prevalent in under processed heat treated canned foods, and their spores survive in that heat treatment and undergoes vegetative cell formation as well as subsequent growth in canned conditions so major spoilage by these organisms are flat sore spoilage. This is caused by soaring bacteria. So one characteristics of this spoilage is that the ends of can remain flat during soaring, and because of this condition the detection of spoilage from outside is not possible, thereby culturing of content because necessary to detect the type of organism. So the main organism involved are bacillus, while it occurs more frequently in low acid foods. Then bacillus species has ability to produce acid without gas formation. Then TA spoilage, this type of spoilage is caused by thermophilic anaerobe not producing hydrogen sulfide. Clostridium thermosaccharolyticum is the main organism involved in this type of spoilage, and it produces acid and gas in foods, and spoiled food produces a sour or cheesy smell. Then sulfur stinker spoilage. So this type of spoilage occurs in low acid foods, and primarily D-sulfotomaculum nigricans is involved in this type of spoilage, and the spores of this organism are destroyed at optimal heat treatment. So thus presence of this organism usually indicates under processing in terms of heat treatment, and it produces hydrogen sulfide which produce a typical odor. Then spoilage by mesophilic spore formers. So here most of the portion of spoilage is caused by this group of microorganism, and this includes mesophilic clostridium type, and the characteristic of this group includes sugar fermenting species producing butyric acid involved, example Corynebacterium butaricum, then Corynebacterium pasturinium, and swelling of containers due to CO2 and hydrogen as these bacteria perform fermentation. So fermentation not only leads to formation of chemical compound, but it leads to formation of gas also, and due to accumulation of that gas the pressure develops in that particular can and it get burst, or there are chances of leakage of that gas. So putrefacious species such as Corynebacterium sporogenes, then Clostridium sporogenes, then Clostridium putrefaciens, then Clostridium botulinum, they are to play role in this type of damage. Or decomposition of proteins produces ammonia, then indole, then hydrogen sulfide, and scatol. So spoilage prevalent in food processed at 100 degrees Celsius. So this kind of spoilage we can observe mostly those foods which are preserved or processed at 100 degrees Celsius temperature. Then normal mesophilic bacillus type includes bacillus is mostly involved in this process, and problems are more prominent in poorly evacuated cans. These cases are mostly we can find in seafoods as well as meat and evaporated milk, and most of the milk other related product. Then entry of organism occurs through leakage of cans, and Bacillus polymaxi and Bacillus murcinus, these are mostly involved in this type of mesophilic bacillus type spoilage. Okay. So spoilage by non-spore former includes genera Enterococcus, then Micrococcus, then Leuconostoc, then Lactobacillus, then Streptococcus thermophilus, and Microbacterium. So all these are responsible for spoilage group, that is non-spore former bacteria, and they causes spoilage of canned foods. In case of spoilage by fungi, so yeast and molds are also involved in this type of spoilage. So in case of yeast, their spores are not thermotolerant, they are not found in suitably heat treated cans. Their presence indicates under processing or post pasteurization contamination through leakage, and fermentative yeast are more prominent and they produces carbon dioxide and thus causing swelling of cans. So film yeast can too grow on the surface of food products. In case of molds, Aspergillus penicillium are more important in spoiling of organism, and these cans are this can grow at higher sugar concentration, and acidification is considered a method of preserving growth of molds, and some of the molds are resistant to heat, and molds are common in home canned foods where heating as well as sealing is not under total aseptic condition. So this is overall scenario regarding microbial spoilage of canned foods or packed foods. Okay, thanks.